Hi, this is Survivor from Scrappy Mania, and today I'm going to create another page in my art journal. I was in the process of making this art journal when my camera kind of died on me. So this is my first art journal. I used my Prima Doll, and then this is actually let me show you, a stencil. So I used my Little Birdie stencil from Hot Off the Press. I traced it and then colored it and made the bird. I hand drew the hearts and then I hand drew the butterflies. I also hand drew art journal, and then this stamp was actually this that I have here. So I used that to stamp it. Now you see it is kind of glossy. And what I used to create that glossy look was actually Mod Podge. So I went and got some Mod Podge from my local Walmart here because I forgot to bring some when I did travel. Now I want to give you some tips if you are going to be using a lot of medium, like paint medium and stuff in a hotel, and you don't want to damage the surface of the table. Then one of my recommendations would be to get one of these plastics. So I have a big plastic or vinyl sheet that I purchased, and I went ahead and put that on the table. And then I also put another, now this is a liner, oven liner that I purchased at Amazon, and it's actually pretty large. It's like 16 inches by 23. So I put that there, and then I have an extra craft sheet. So that helps protect the surface. Make sure you have a lot of paper towel. And I did not bring paint per se. What I brought is some watercolor medium that are in a dry form. So that way, because I didn't want to really bring a lot of acrylics or things like that, because I didn't want to have the chance of spilling on my table and damaging the carpet or anything like that. So I think watercolors is best when you do travel. And I do have these Faber-Castell watercolor that I purchased some time ago. These are pretty inexpensive. They're in the child section of, actually in Amazon. I got this at Amazon, and it was pretty inexpensive. So I'm using that. And I'm also using these Twinkling H2O. And they're in little pots like this. And to activate them, it comes with a little spray bottle. Just put some water and then let it sit, and it activates or gets a little wet. So that's what I did. Oh, and also another thing I did, I bought some gesso in a little container. So now I have a big bucket of gesso, so I just took a little bit and put that in a container. So let's go ahead and get started. One of the things that I do for my art journal, well, this is my first art journal, so one of the things I'm doing for this art journal is I'm doubling up the pages, and actually I'm doing 5 pages because this is a notebook, and this is going to be my 2014 art journal. Next year I'll create another one. So since it's a book, the pages are very thin, and in order to be able to withstand all the water and the colors and all that wet medium, you need to make the pages thick. So I kind of glue 5 pages together, and then I do pull some pages out because that way I didn't want it to get it too bulky. So just pull a couple of pages out. So every 5 that you glue together, just pull out 2 pages, and you'll probably have to adjust that as you start composing your art journal and it gets larger. So, and another thing that I do, because I do pull out the papers, and I just don't want paint right in that groove, so I went ahead and got me some masking tape, and I put that on the edge right there, and that works perfect because now I'm going to be able to put some gesso on here, and it won't seep into the bind. Make sure you bring your hot tool, your heat gun, because you're going to have to heat the surface, or you're going to have to dry the surface. And I think that's pretty much it for the tips that I have to offer you in case you are planning to bring some paints and things like that for when you travel to create your art art journal or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video and we'll go ahead and get started. So here I'm going to use these papers, and at the end I'm going to show you the paper that I use, because I don't think I did do that at the beginning of this video. I've been having issues with my camera, so I've been recording a couple times these videos, and I forget what I've mentioned or not mentioned, but at the end for sure I am going to show you the paper line that I use for these papers. And then here, and I've seen other people do this technique, and what they do is they make a template of the page they're planning to do and cut it out and use a ruler and measure and all that stuff. And I just didn't feel like doing that. Plus, I don't have all that equipment that I'm used to if I was in my studio. So I just basically laid the piece of paper on top of the page and then kind of guesstimate what the size and just cut it. So what I'm using to keep a straight line is, when I cut the paper, I use the edge as the one that's gonna as my guide. So the edge is gonna be the straight line, and then I just basically cut it at an angle. And then for the next page or the next piece, I do the same. I use the edge and cut it at an angle and cover, and use that edge to cover my part that I cut. I hope I was able to explain it, but you see it in there. I think you can see how I use the edge to lay it on the last cut edge of each other piece, and then it looks like a straight line. And it seems to be working very well here without using a straight ruler and measuring and stuff like that. It's working very well. So make sure I cannot use scraps for this technique, because I'm relying on the paper, on the edges of the papers to be nice and straight. So really I'm using a 12 by 12 and then cutting that 12 by 12 on each of those edges to do this technique. And now I'm to the last little bit, and that's pretty much it. And then I put some adhesive throughout, some Mod Podge. Then the last thing, I needed a center. I couldn't figure out what to use for that center, so I just took part of the paper, one of the leaves of the book. I hand cut that into a heart. And hearts are very simple to do. They're very easy. You just fold the paper in half and cut on an angle, on a curve, and it makes a heart. So now here I'm just, after I dried the glue with my heat tool, I'm cutting the edges. And it's a little harder. It wasn't that easy to cut the edges, especially on the spine, in the spine area. It was kind of hard to cut. But I did manage to cut it. And I don't know if I would have done a better job using my craft knife, but I didn't want to chance it, so I just used my scissors. And here what I wanted to do is that I've seen one of my favorite mixed media artists called Vicky, and I don't want to destroy her last name, so I'll put the link of her channel on my description here. But one of the tips that I got from Vicky is using markers to create shadows, and using like glaze medium to use a marker and to create shadows. But I do not have markers on this trip, and what I did bring was some oil pastels, and actually it's working very well. It's doing about the same thing. So I'm using my oil pastels and I'm rubbing it on the edges and throughout the whole page. And I didn't really rub any of that on the edge of the whole page, on the outline edge, but I think that was okay. I think next time I would have put a little more of the shading on the outside of all of these pages. So here I'm using a stencil that I created with my Cricut, and I will have a video how to create these stencils and things like that. I do have a viewer that would like me to show how to create stencils with the Cricut, and I do have some techniques on that, and I will when I go back. when I get back home, I will upload a video on that. So now I'm ready to place my cutout flowers from the paper pad. And I lay it down, and then I use my decoupage medium to glue it down. We're coming up to the part of the video that got cut off, so the rest of this video will be narrating the book. So I'm narrating the rest of this art journal because what happened is I'm recording with a regular camera and my tape ran out, and I didn't notice that my tape ran out. Usually I record with my iPad, and that one I don't have any issue about running out of tape. Sometimes I do have issue about running out of battery, but the iPads are pretty good with conserving battery. They stay charged for a long time. But my camera is not. I'm not so fortunate with the camera. It has a short battery life, and it has a short film. So, but regardless of that, I am going to narrate the last bit because you saw 90% of this page being completed. And so I'm just going to narrate the final part and some of the products. I don't think I did show you what I used, the papers that I used for this. I just mainly show you how I cut it and put it in place, but I didn't really show you the company or which paper pad I used. So anyhow, so let's go up here. The first thing I did was this is part of the paper pad, and I cut that bird out and I placed it here, as you can see it there, and I'll show you the paper pad in a second. Then I went here, I put my goals, 2014 goals, and I put it down here. Actually, that was the end at the end. The next thing I did was I took a stamp, so I'm using this Kaiser Craft stamp, and it's a distressing stamp. And it was pretty economical. So I used the chicken wire to put chicken wire around the page. And after I did that, I felt like these centers of my flower needed something. And also the white flower, because this started as a white flower, as you can see here. So here's my paper pad. I cut out the outline flower, and then I cut out the red flower. And I used my watercolor paint to paint the outlined flower, the flowers that didn't have any color. I paint those, and then the solid flower, I just placed it there, and it needed center, so I just took some of my sequins and just put the sequins at each of the flower centers, and that's pretty much it. That's all I did. And it completed this page. So I really like how my pages are coming out, and it's looking pretty nice, I think. So let me show you the paper pad real quickly. These are the flowers I chose. I mean, these are the papers I chose. And I have a couple of scraps here. And the paper pad that I used was this paper pad by Prima called Breathe Paper, and it's pretty nice. I can see cutting all this out and using it as layers in my my journaling. So they're very nice, and it's just real bright colors. I really like that. I do have a video of creating a page with this, and it was a long time ago. I mean, these papers is about 2 or 3 years ago that I purchased them. But look at the color scheme, and see, there's the bird, and I used the rest too for that journal, the art journal page. So, and it's just, you get 3 of each. So I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but you get 3 of each. So I hope you like my first ever art journal. The next page that I'm planning to do, because I don't have to show up to work until this afternoon. So my next page, I think I'm going to do before I go to work, I'm going to be using these little yellow bicycle frames. And here it is. I already started cutting them out and painting them. Don't know yet how I'm going to use it, but I do want to use that. I want to use these stencils, and then I'm going to use these in a creative way. I think I have an idea how to use these, so we'll see what comes out of my next page. And I hope you come back to see that page, and I hope my camera behaves and I'm able to record the whole process. Thank you for watching. Bye now.